Morning, welcome back to United TV. Manchester United look to be closing in on the deal with Ederson from Atalanta. It looks like the move that was going to be happening to Atletico Madrid is not now happening. Atletico Madrid moving for João Gomez. Manchester United stepping in, seeing this as an opportunity not to be missed, and looking to move for a player that has been linked to Manchester United for probably about 18 months, 2 years. But this looks like it's going to be potentially Manchester United's first summer signing. And how do people feel about this situation? So it looks like Manchester United had talks with Ederson's representatives. There's terms agreed. Ederson's open to the move. Manchester United will be able to meet the valuation, which was not met by Atletico Madrid. So it'd be interesting to see actually how much he goes for. And we've had this kind of triangle with Atletico Madrid with when we saw Gallagher left Atletico, Manchester United linked with him, and clearly this is going to be a replacement for that player. It looks like for Atletico Madrid, and it looks a bit like the Ederson deal is one that United have been looking at for quite a long time, and it's probably driven by Wilcox, who is a fan. That's been said quite a lot. Let's just go to Fabrici's update, but I will take some fan opinion on this, whether this is a good signing or not. I mean, I think if you're going to sign three midfielders, this is probably going to be like the third in terms of like the cheapest deal. It's going to be one to get over the line. We have discussed this actually a little bit over the last week or two, saying, is it worth just getting a deal done early? And this could be that deal that's done early. And then some of the bigger deals might happen a bit later in the window. But Atletico Madrid did agree terms with Ederson. We know that to be the case. And the only problem was they just wanted to get a cheaper price. So it looks like they've gone for João Gomez, and to be honest, I don't know whether would João Gomez have been a better move for Manchester United. That's the thought among some people. Some Manchester United fans feel like maybe United should have gone for that deal ourselves. But this is the situation. So it looks like this is going to be our first deal. I'll jump into the comments in a minute. If you're able to share the live stream as we're streaming, that'd be massively helpful as well as trying to grow the community back up. So I'll go for a few comments and see what people are thinking about this one. And Dan says that this is a good start and say it for squad depth as well. And then this is one that okay, this sort of price that we're going to be going for. I don't know exactly how much Edison's going to cost. My guess would be something like maybe like 35 to 40 million, maybe closer to the 40 million price point, which would suggest that plenty of room for Manchester United to try and then like make another couple of signings. So this isn't going to be one that means that Man United just do one deal. We're going to do at least I think three midfield deals, and this would for me represent the cheapest deal we could do. So it's a good starting point. The question is going to be who's the main target going to be? Who's going to play alongside Ederson? Who's going to be alongside Mainu? Ederson could be there. He's got some experience. It's a decent signing for squad depth. I think it's never going to be the most exciting signing that we see as fans. But again, this is like deal number one. And this is maybe if you're comparing what we saw maybe about 12 months ago, Manchester United did look at trying to get Delap, trying to get an early cheap signing through the door. And our first signing last season was Cunha. So this is probably not as exciting, but I think it's a good start. So this is one where this is up to you guys to push the conversation to what you want to talk about. The question is going to be once you've got this signing done, what are you looking at in terms of the rest of the window? That is this a sort of price that Man United can now do a few deals at a lower price, but also spend quite big money on the players and the real quality that they do need. So I think it's not a bad starting point. The question is going to be where do Manchester United go from here? That if we get this deal over the line, this is something that fans have been saying for ages, though. A lot of fans have been saying, let's get one deal done quite quickly and then move on and try and get the rest of the deals done. So again, this Man United fans should be satisfied that United are moving fast to get one player, and maybe we're also getting a deal done at a price which means we can spend quite big on midfield as well and on the rest of the squad. So hopefully we're still looking at 5 to 6 signings, and this is going to be one of those first ones as well. Tony says apparently about 43 million euros. So yeah, I was thinking in like sort of pounds, which may be like 35 plus, maybe some add-ons. But you would be looking at this as going to be, as a bare minimum, like this is going to be, maybe this paves the way towards Agate moving on to start with, because you need to replace at least a few players, don't you? So Agate being replaced by Ederson, and then we're probably looking at spending probably a bit more money to replace Casemiro if we do find a player that adequately replaces Casemiro. But no, there's always going to be a conversation, isn't there? That if you're looking at some of the deals we're doing, clearly, clearly, there's an issue with Manchester United with depth. We saw that yesterday, and we saw a poor performance. And if you're looking at getting a few midfield players in, we need like a range of players, don't we? Cheers, Kazi. He says it's about 37, 38 million. So it looked like I don't know if Atletico were genuinely really wanting this deal done, or whether Atletico were just I don't know, using it to see if they could negotiate a better deal for João Gomez. We don't know, but I think this interest from Man United has gone back a couple of years at least. And this was a deal. Apparently, I read this morning the reason why this didn't happen in January was because Manchester United thought the price was going to be coming down towards the summer, which it is going to come down. It's a bit risky, but it makes it makes good sense based on where we are at the moment because we can get quite a cheap deal. But it did feel like a bit of a risk maybe a month ago when Manchester United were far from secure in terms of getting Champions League football. We have gone on a good run, beating Chelsea, beating Liverpool to kind of guarantee this. But about 5 games ago, you'd look at it thinking, why don't we get some midfield players in, particularly after the Leeds defeat? So, but morning to you, Vril says, not great, not horrible. It's not. It's one of these deals where let's see what else we can get. Once we get some other players around it, it's going to be it's going to be interesting to see what the next signing is. This is one that, to be honest, does feel like something you can get done quite quickly because of the price. And say first thing Ineos need to do is not to give Carrick the jobs as the big dog. I'm guessing that that's going to happen. I don't know if we're going to see anything decided, but we're getting to the stage where there's not much of the season left, is there? And it'd be good to actually get some clarification. But I don't know what they're going to find out in the last 2 games regarding Carrick. I think they're having conversations behind the scenes that we're not really aware of. If we get Edison, then Matheus Fernandez and the better one, too many, for example, says Jim. Would that be like? Would you look at that and go, yeah, that's a good window? That I think Fernandez is definitely on the on the radar. That would be probably a mix of. If you're looking at that, that would be probably only one Premier League player, so that would be interesting if they did go down that route. But they would be going for non-Premier League players with quite a bit of experience. So Edison, Fernandez, too many. They're up for consideration. So it's big games for West Ham coming up, and maybe that's going to be something we look into in terms of maybe we're going to see something like that being discussed. If West Ham get relegated, that might get fast tracked. I think. Like he's saying, you want Alex Scott, Fernandez as the Premier League players that you would like to see in the team. They could be up for consideration, couldn't they? For sure. Cake Cadets is saying, get it done, better than Mount in midfield. I think Mason Mount is probably one of these players that I think he's just it's going to be like Lindelof. He's going to be on the bench, probably not involved in loads of matchday squads, and we're going to gradually see. Yeah, he kind of he's going to run his contract down, isn't he? I don't see him being sold, and unfortunately, if you make mistakes like that, then that's the problem. Tony says we should get that price for Agate. So if you're looking at Agate price, I believe that Man United were going to sell Agate or be happy to sell Agate for about £25 million. So I mean, obviously they're going to try and get a better price for Agate if they can, but it's probably going to be looking at if Edison's going to be about say I don't know high thirties, it's probably going to be about £10 million plus Agate. I think there's not loads of difference in the age, and you probably look at the difference in quality of the player. So it's not going to be like a massive outlay. I think the Edison sale, like you said, Tony, I think it will kind of bridge the gap a little bit regarding that one. And welcome to the chat, Grace. Grace says, Belieber will be our main signing. So there, there is still a lot of evidence to suggest that Belieber is on the cards, isn't there? I think the too many situation has really made people, I know, interested to see what happens with that one. But I guess with the Belieber one, that's again negotiation. If we get a cheap deal for Edison, do we spend more on Belieber? I mean, I don't know. It's going to be quite difficult negotiating one. Loomis says, I've made up my mind and now I want Carrick to stay. Okay. I think we're going to find out. Well, we're going to find out quite soon, aren't we? Regarding that one. So how would you feel if it was? Let's have a look. Okay, so this is probably a situation where what are we thinking is going to be the final three? Because I think we're going to get 3 players in. If our first signing was a much more expensive player, I'd be like thinking, maybe, yeah, maybe. But How would I feel if it was Belieber, Edison, and Fernandez? Um, yeah, it's definitely if it's Edison, I think Edison's been on the radar for so long that he feels like there's been better targets emerged since we've been talking about Edison. That's the only thing, isn't it? If you're looking at Belieber, he's not a great form. Fernandez is very young. I think if you're looking at it, because we've talked about Elliot Anderson for a long time on this channel. You look at Tonali, you look at too many. I think it's like a lot of people feel that if you have those three players, too many, Elliot Anderson, you're looking at Tonali as well. It felt like if Manchester United didn't get one of those players, a lot of these other players are going to be, what's the best way of putting it? I think underwhelming is one way of putting it, but it feels a little bit like Manchester United were hoping to get a bigger name or I don't know, a player that was perceivably a slightly higher quality. So no, it's. I think it would. We have to wait and see what happens with the other ones. But I definitely take your point that you look at it and think it feels a little bit underwhelming in comparison because how much would that cost? Edison, Fernandez, if West Ham get relegated, about 35 to 40 million. Edison and about like I said, like 35 to 40, and I think Belieber, I don't know, like 60 to 70 maybe. It would feel like that's maybe one of the cheaper options they could be doing as well. So in terms of that one, I think a lot of people want to see big money spent. Like that's what a lot of people are thinking. So would Edison complement Mainu? I think Edison is one of these midfielders that when people look at him, say he's good at a lot of things. So he is. Uh, I don't think people would be saying he's like world class midfielder, but they say he's good defensively at high energy levels. He's actually pretty good passing wise. Set up a lot of chances for Lookman at Atlanta. So I think overall, a year ago when we were talking about him, loads of people liked him. I don't think Edison's done anything wrong in the last 12 months. I think it's just a lot of emerging targets. So you know how you look at the situation and like Belieber's dropped off a little bit. People love Elliot Anderson. People are looking at too many as a potential option. I think it's just what we're seeing is that Edison was quite rated about 12 months ago, and it's not that Edison's dropped off or anything like that's happened. His value's gone down because his contract's running out, so that's pushing the price down. I think when people see high numbers and then the price getting lower and lower, they think there's something that usually it's a contract related situation. So I think that what we're seeing here is that when if we get a deal done for 35 million compared with like a deal for Anderson or Tonali or Tchouaméni, that would feel more exciting because it's quite big money spent. They're higher profile players, but to be honest, we could buy the same three players, and but the order's different. If we buy the cheapest player first, it probably makes more sense because they're the easier deals to get done. Would Edison complement Mainu? I think Daz. I think he would. I think it's going to be definitely an improvement on what we got. And the question is going to be like, would Edison be a first team starter if at the end of the window, we don't know if that's going to be the case. So Edison is better than Matas Fernandez's Lefers and Alex Scott, but I would prefer Edison to be the second midfielder and Fernandez or Scott as the third. Who do you want as the first one is probably the obvious question. It's going to. I saw somebody say that maybe you're looking at saying like Tonali being another one as well. That maybe Tonali would be that player that we're looking at. So let's go through a few more of the comments. And Willis Better says he will be 27 before the season begins. And is this a change of policy from Ineos? Then Ineos's policy is about that sort of age, isn't it? You're looking at about that sort of age. So if you're looking at that, so I'll just try and go back through some of the comments because the comments refresh quite a lot then. Daz thinks it's going to be Tonali, Belieber, and Edison. Yeah, I think Edison must be like borderline in terms of like what is the age people are going to, what age will Ineos consider buying for the club. And maybe Mazraoui might have been a similar age as well. So, um, Grace, yeah, we understand your views, Grace. We understand you. I did actually mention this yesterday that he did get, and I didn't say phrase it in the same way, but people were talking about that. If Anderson are primarily going for Premier League proven midfielders, is this our best option from abroad? And I think the best options from abroad for me would be too many and Angela Stiller as the best two options in terms of like experience. 'Cause I think you've got to categorize Edison as being someone that's a bit more experienced. It's not like a Buwadi. It's not like one for the future. Ederson would be signed to drop into the first team or on the rotation very quickly because of his experience. So this is definitely I feel like Manchester United in the short term are trying to get some more experience into the team. And maybe what we're looking at is maybe Edison's going to bring some experience. Maybe that means we're going to go very high in value in terms of like looking at younger players. So maybe we are considering Belieber, Mathis Fernandez, Elliot Anderson as a few younger players. But no, I do get the feeling that if I was going to pick one option that's a non-Premier League player, I would be getting too many. That would probably be my first choice. And my second choice would probably be Angela Stiller. And not to say that Edison won't work out well. Edison's got a lot of attributes people like. It just feels like it's not necessarily the best option out there, but it's certainly an upgrade on some of the players we've had. Let's say we should just be happy with what it. Well, I don't know. I think fans want to see Man United getting the best possible players. Yeah, I think if you get Edison, a lot of people, or maybe myself, would see this as going to be an improvement on what we've had at the club. But is it going to translate into Man United being a title-winning team in the next couple of years? I don't know. If you sign someone like too many, you can see the building blocks taking shape. I think with Edison, he's definitely going to be an improvement on Agate, a big improvement, and maybe as like we need a bit of depth for Champions League, don't we? So this might address some of the worries people had about how much quality we got on the bench. So we play counter-attacking football against the top six, but against the low blocks we struggle. So we're not going to challenge with this type of football. I think it's a standard thing, isn't it? Like low blocks are difficult to play against. I think a lot of Premier League teams feel the same sort of way. Maybe Man United. Well, we'll have to see what happens, won't we, with the rest of the transfer window. But hopefully, the idea is going to be that United will be more effective against those sort of teams next season. But that's been a problem for a while with a lot of teams. Like you're saying, Alex Scott. Let me know why Alex Scott is like so high on your list to buy. Big up to you, Nems Talks. Good to see you in the chat. So Edison for Ugarte, so too many. These two, if you think about Man United's actual midfield setup, then Ugarte is going to be replaced. You would say, like, to break it down player by player, Edison is a significant upgrade on Ugarte. If you're looking at Casemiro, you've got loads of experience, you've got line breaking passes, you've got good defensive work, you've got someone that's very good in the air, but you also do have some vulnerabilities. He's not the paciest, we know that. So there is like no, it's not a perfect player for Man United. Is too many going to be like a younger version of Casemiro? I suppose in some ways, he was doing something similar at Real Madrid. He's very good defensively. His passing is spot on. He's good in the air, but he's a bit quick around the pitch. So I think too many feels like a good signing, but it still feels like there's a long way away from Man United signing too many. Like there's still a lot of things happening in Madrid that I think Madrid would not let him go too cheap if it did go, and it probably depends on who's the next head coach or the manager at Real Madrid. If it's Mourinho, does Mourinho then want to keep too many? Because too many is a good player, and I think it could be that he looks at him as it depends how Mourinho wants to play, doesn't it? But he could be a quality player for him to keep. Fernandez is an extra one. So this is like how many players is this? You've got like four midfield players. So Hackney is a Mount replacement. I quite like Hackney as a replacement. Maybe Hackney could be a replacement for Toby Collier. And if you're looking at Fernandez being extra, maybe one of these players could be replacing Ericsson. The rumor is that we're going to see Thwaites promoted to the first team, and he's going to be apparently like the next, or the skill set's rather similar to someone like Edison, but sorry, like the player I just mentioned. So it could be like that. Christian Eriksen, I think, is the player they compare him to. Say Tonali, Gomez. I think Gomez is gone. Like João Gomez is off the table because that's part of this happening. So Man United are only going to get Edison because João Gomez is going to Atletico Madrid. So that's probably the situation here. I mean, the question I've got is that if Gomez goes to Atletico, we get Edison. Who's got the best player? Like, do we get the best deal? So sometimes we look at it and think, for me, it's a bit unclear. I think there's definitely Yeah, there's definitely a lot of attributes. So I think Edison, probably the difficulty with Edison is people are not sure how he's going to do in the Premier League. It's a bit up in the air, isn't it? And Debassis says maybe Edison and as fourth. If Edison's our fourth best midfield signing, that's a lot of quality coming into our midfield, isn't it? Because I think you have to say that Edison's still a good player, and he's still highly regarded by a lot of people. And the fact that we're just looking at targets that are more exciting has kind of made people. I think that people do seem to be feeling a bit underwhelmed by Edison. That's the kind of feeling I'm getting. But I think he comes into our squad, improves it. It could be like a Mazraoui signing, where I think Mazraoui expectations were. I don't think they were sky high. It wasn't expensive. It was probably an upgrade on what we had before, and actually we needed a bit of depth in a couple of positions. So it could be that sort of signing that Mazraoui comes in, but everybody talks about Cunha and Buemo, Benjamin Sesko, but Mazraoui can be doing a decent job. I think Edison could come in, and if Man United actually have a lot more rotation. And instead of having people like Mason Mount and reliant on people that are not going to be as effective, and this season, having people like Agate in the team, if our baseline is going to be Edison, if Edison's going to be like our perceivably worst midfielder, which sounds like a harsh way of putting it, but if he's the midfielder people think is the not the best, but he's like that's a very good baseline, isn't it? That's what you need for a bit of depth in the team. So I think it's like decent. Yeah, third's like pretty much locked up, isn't it? So, great. Do you think we should sell Bruno because he didn't feed Xerxes for his hat trick? I don't think we're going to be seeing anything like that happen, are we? It's yeah, I think it's going to be Xerxes is going to be sold. I don't know how much we're going to get for him, but we're going to have to find out regarding this one. Is there a player Wilcox could recommend that fans will be happy with, or does everyone just want him gone? I think Wilcox is probably the person at the club that gets blamed for what happened with Ruben Amorim and what happened with getting a director of football, sacking a director of football. I think Jason Wilcox probably can't do much right in terms of people's eyes at the moment. So yeah, I think with Jason Wilcox, if Edison, everybody's in the media is saying that Wilcox is the person that's pushing the Edison deal. Okay, if that's the truth, and we've been linked to Edison for about 2 years at least, as far as I'm aware. And the price used to be about 55 million euros. It's now coming down to like maybe closer to 35 million. So he's just gradually getting cheaper. Obviously, he's now going to be closer to 27. We were looking at him as a 24, 25 year old. So again, that he's going to have slightly less of his peak. But to be honest, like for 3 years, I think Edison would be absolutely fine. But at the moment, I think Wilcox has just got to do a few things right, as need to get people back on side. It's not going to be, it's not going to happen overnight. So it's going to be tricky. And does this possibly mean that they're very confident of securing one of Tonali or Anderson, or is it panic mode already? I don't. This feels for me. This feels a bit like a long term acquisition. Like Man United, for some reason, you look at some of the deals we're linked to. Edison feels like someone that United have been considering for a while, and it's almost like we're just waiting for the price to drop before we get him. So I think United might not. I think United are probably confident of getting someone like Tonali could definitely be achievable if United are prepared to pay the money that Newcastle want. So I think Tonali is definitely there if United are happy to spend that sort of money. And if they're looking in the budget and going right, we're going to buy three midfielders. We like this player at this price. So they like Edison at the sort of 37, 38 million pound price. They look at other options around and go, actually, we like Angela Stiller if we can get him for a certain price. Maybe Angela Stiller's actually edging up in price, and maybe there's a reason why they're moving away from him. I think the too many situation, as as crazy as it's been over the last couple of weeks, I think that's one that feels unlikely, but I think Man United are not going to rule it out unless something, just in the short term. And Bots fan says too many is not an option, bringing a scandal to Manchester United. Yeah, no, that got kind of resolved quite quickly by Madrid, didn't it? 500,000 euro fine each. Handshake, apologise to the club, and they're trying to move it on. But they say you don't rate Tonali. Say too many's. Too many. No one knows if he's achievable. To be honest. Will Gomez get more game time at Madrid? Um, I think with the Madrid situation and Gomez, I think it was just that they wanted to pay. They didn't want to pay how much money Edison was going to cost. So I think Gomez would have gone wherever. Like I think Gomez was looking to move from Wolves. He would have gone to Manchester United for sure. It's just a case of it's just a case of that they wanted him. If you're a player at Wolves and Atletico Madrid want you, it's a massive step up, isn't it? And yeah, if Manchester United had wanted him, I'm sure we'd have got him. So for whatever reason, we said this yesterday that for whatever reason, and I don't know why, it looks like Gomez dropped down the list a bit, and Man United were not that concerned where he went. So no, it's just it seems to be a club choice, doesn't it? Dan's saying too many won't leave Madrid. No, if I was going to guess, I'd say he stays at Madrid. But yeah, you never know. You never know. Yesterday, I remember last season, it was no one knew what was going to happen regarding what was Isak at Newcastle. Is he going to leave? Is he going to stay? He was pushing to leave. I don't think too many. When a player's not pushing to leave, my gut reaction is like too many is looking at seeing what happens. I think with the transfer window, like too many feels like one of those deals that United could do if Real Madrid signs certain players. If Real Madrid signs certain players, and too many looks at what's happening and thinks actually this is not looking good. I'm not going to be able to play where I want to play in the team. Maybe Real Madrid are moving to playing a different way with different players. Maybe you jump ship at that point. But again, at the moment, I'd be guessing that he stays there. But so if you're honest, so you think there's agent talk to pressure Atletico Madrid to sign him, who in turn are saying they're now opting for João Gomez to get Atlanta to bring Edison's value down. Do you think Man United is there any interest from Manchester United in getting João Gomez? Do you think? Does, so looking at this one, yeah, is it Neil or Neil Lavaney? But you're saying that have people ever watched too many miles ahead of Tonali? I think a lot of people have different views on this one, but I think most people look at too many as a quality signing. I think Tonali tends to be very I don't know. A lot of people split on Tonali. I mean, when the price goes quite high, people start scrutinising it more and thinking, right, if Tonali cost £80 million, what value is there? Like, is there other players that would be potentially £50 million that might do a similar job, and then you could spend quite big on a different part of the team or on a different player? That's there's never going to be complete agreement. Okay, maybe another question which we're looking at the moment. Do you think like do you think Man United actually sign Edison? Like, is Edison going to be a Manchester United signing? I'll put this as a poll for people to vote, um, just to gauge opinion. I mean, agreeing terms is one thing. The player's open to move is another thing. He has agreed terms with Atletico. He is open to a move to Atletico as well. It's up to Manchester United and Atletico Madrid to meet the valuation of Atalanta. Maybe if the player's interested in going to both clubs, does that potentially push the price up? Because this is a situation we haven't really seen for a while. But one football player who would go to Man United, would go to Atletico Madrid, he doesn't. I don't know if he minds where he goes. I don't know if he's got a preference. So would that indicate that Manchester United, Atletico Madrid do pay quite high salaries as well. So they have got some players on big money at Atletico Madrid. I don't think Man United are going to offer crazy money. The question is going to be is this going to be a situation where potentially one team gets priced out or one team looks at it and goes, actually, it's not the best. It's not the best use of our money. I think that gets complicated from both sides because Joe Gomez is available. We know he's a good player. There's a lot of midfielders available as well. And we know Atletico Madrid, like they're shopping around, they're looking at a lot of players. So, and I think for Man United as well, we're looking at a lot of players. No, exactly. Madrid will not come out and say they want to sell too many. That's going to be an interesting discussion as and when it might happen. That at some point that will be happening. So, but so I think when you're already a high level squad, letting too many go isn't a big deal because you can replace them quality with yeah, quality with quality. But for us, we absolutely need quality because we have none. Says Kate Cadet in the chat, and no, we need to buy quality for sure, don't we? Tony's saying Fernandez will be relegated twice while we're looking at him. I think, well, it's the player, isn't it? That he's only about 21, and yeah, I think there's a lot of players that have been relegated from the Premier League that he's a good player. So I think Fernandez is highly regarded. So I think he's just got his call up into the Portuguese team, hasn't he? So the only one with a shout of getting into an elite team is Bruno. So the rest aren't good enough, and Buemo has dropped. So Cunha's only good sometimes. I wouldn't say Sesko's flopped. I would like Sesko's got 9 goals in the Sesko got apparently I think Sesko's got almost the same amount of goals as Ollie Watkins, Gyökeres. So as a young striker, I don't think he's flopped. I think it's just a matter of time. He's doing okay and he's going to improve. Ederson's salary is apparently 4.3 million euros a year. So apparently, Man United was rumored to have offered Ederson a contract of about £75,000 a week. About this might have been about I don't know 4 or 5 days ago, or time last week, and it's not going to be very expensive. So you could be looking at 100k a week, which it seems a bit cheap. I have no idea what the offer on the table from Atlanta is, but the news angle I've been seeing initially is this gets pushed out as being an opportunistic deal. Like, is this one of those deals where, for me, Hayden Hackney is a deal that's almost too cheap not to do? Is this a deal that's too cheap not to do? I'm not so sure because I think that if you're going to spend, I don't know, 38 million, 100k a week, so how much is that? Like 5 million per year. It's not expensive, is it, for a midfielder? If the midfielder comes in and is quite effective and plays a lot of games, if the player's not going to play much because you buy Tonali, Tchouameni, Anderson, or maybe a couple of other players, then it becomes a bit more questionable. But no, I don't know if this represents Man United being quick in the transfer market because loads of us have said this over the last couple of weeks, haven't we? Loads of us have said we should try and get a signing done very quickly. And as soon as it looks like one might be happening, people are a bit unsure regarding this one. But it is one of those signings where I was going to ask the question and say, like, are people interested? Like, do people look at this and go, "Good signing. This is a good one for the future," or do people look at this and think, "Oh, Man United going cheap? Am Man United trying to get cheap deals that aren't necessarily the best deals?" I don't know. It's for me, it's a bit too early to tell. I like the idea of Man United getting a player in quite quickly. And I was kind of thinking it might be someone like Hayden Hackney, but I'm open-minded with that one. I'll say, and Bowman will be fine, says Lucky. We're looking for Morgan Rogers or and who he is good. He is a good player. I agree. And welcome Fox to the chat. Says Dan, we got bullied yesterday. How do you feel about this then, Fox? That are Manchester United looking for like obviously we need to get like Mason Mount in midfield is not going to work. We know that. And for me, Mason Mount, if Mason Mount's going to play, maybe he should be playing further forward, maybe in Bruno's position as someone that can actually link up play quite effectively. But for me, Mason Mount is going to be largely on the bench if he's a Man United player. And I'm looking at who's going to come in. You'd be looking at someone like if you want to replace the physical presence, too many would do that job. Would Edison do that job? I think he would definitely be a good option to come off instead of someone like an Agate, 100%. Has Ahmed hit his full potential? He's about is he about 23, 24, Ahmed Jallow? So I don't know. I don't know. For me, he hasn't really improved a lot over the last year. The question is going to be is this a big year for him? Because Man United will be upgrading midfield this season. Will we be upgrading other parts of the team at some point? So it could be. It's like anything, isn't it? That if you're like kind of let's say like you have a conversation about some people will talk about Dallow, people will talk about Luke Shaw, and people will talk about Almajalo recently. These are kind of three names that come up that aren't in the midfield that people think about. Are we going to be looking at getting these players upgraded or replaced? That's kind of the general feeling I'm getting from people watching. But with Amajalo, I hope he hasn't hit his potential. I think most people would peak a little bit later. I think it's going to be, I don't know, to quite difficult to predict, isn't it? But Amajalo could have a big season next season. He might not. If you're thinking about it, then he's had a bit of a mixed couple of years, a couple of loan deals at different clubs, a few different managers. We had Eric Ten Hag that didn't want to use him. Then we had him being more effective as a wing back, possibly under Amrin. So lots of things have changed for Ahmed. It's a big season next season, I think, to see what he can do. Fox says I'm not a believer, so he'll treat us the same when Real Madrid come knocking. Someone has said the same thing actually. I don't know who it is, but someone said the same sort of thing. If Belieber, it's a little bit like say Anthony Gordon, that he's kind of forcing his way out of Newcastle. It looks like he wants to force his way to Liverpool. Will he then take the same route and try and force his way to Madrid? I think Garnacho at Chelsea, they're seeing the same sort of thing. And I don't know. To be honest, I don't know with Belieber what the issue is with that one, but a lot of people are thinking that, for Edison, this is one that where I'd say if you trust the scouts and you trust the people making decisions regarding transfers at Manchester United, you'd have to go right. Okay, they've looked at Edison for at least 2 years, like at least, hasn't they? A long time. So if Man United get Edison, it is not like oh, let's see how this goes. This is not an emergency signing. This feels like one that they've been planning for ages, but they just it's like it feels like they've been shopping, like they've been looking at the shop for ages. There's a bit of a discount because the contract's up, and it feels a bit like they've gone for Edison now because he's a bit cheaper. I wish we'd have actually gone for a player in January, but unfortunately that didn't happen. Luckily for us, it kind of worked out as well. And so Tony says we need to start dominating the midfield. And players need to win their duels. We got overrun yesterday. Do you look at this in terms of if you look at Belieber, who people don't really rate loads recently? I think Belieber is actually he wins a lot of duels. Like this season, his duel percentage winning is very high. So if you want someone that's going to win the ball back and someone that's going to be good one on one, winning their battles, Belieber's actually putting up really good numbers this season. It's kind of I think it's quite similar to Casemiro. He's not doing as much on the ball as he was a year ago, but if you want to see someone that's winning their duels, duel percentage for Belieber is extremely high. If you want someone that wins the ball back a lot, Elliot Anderson is the guy. He's putting in more duels than anybody else, hence he's winning the ball back more. But in terms of a percentage, then Belieber's up there. He's like one of the best in the league. So it's probably there's a skill set Man United are looking at, and it's not always reflecting in how the player looks in a different club. So I would say largely you have to try to forget a bit what's happening with Belieber and Brighton. If Man United signed Belieber, they would be looking at his strengths, and hopefully that's what they would see. Debasis, do you have faith in Edison? No, I've got yes, Xerxes looks like he's I think for Xerxes he's playing like he knows he's gone, isn't he? I think that's I think that's apparent, isn't it? I think if you look at body language as well, I think Agate knows he's gone as well. And if I think for Xerxes, it feels a bit like it's pre-season that we're not gonna. What's he gonna do? He knows he's not going to be here next season, and I think whatever Xerxes does the rest of the season, it's not going to be much benefit to Man United. I think we're waiting for Sesko to come back, and Edison will be watching the last two games. D Hexium, big up to you in the chat, says, I'm honestly not sure if Edison is the right size of the age bracket for us. Why would they break their own age rule? Say, what is the set in stone age rule that people feel like? What is the set in stone age rule that? Because I thought it was around about that sort of age. Like it's 26, 27 must be the cut-off point. Though he is 26 at the moment. I get the feeling they just rate him. We're not talking about 29, like say, even 29 is not much. We're not talking about someone that's 29, 30, are we? We're looking at someone that would be absolutely fine for a few years. So I get the feeling that was Mazraoui the same sort of age or quite similar? And I'd say for you, Almajalo is well, the point now where you can't keep waiting on his development. No, maybe. I think his output's never been prolific, and it's. I don't see it. I don't see it is going to be prolific. That he's good at running with the ball. He's good at dribbling. He can cause danger, but I think for a Manchester United player, if you're going to play 4-3-3 or 4-2-3-1, I feel like you're Now, apart from just having the one striker, your other players have got to carry a significant goal threat, and I don't think that causes. I don't think we consider. I don't think we see that enough from Armajalo. I'm not going to say he can't step up, but he certainly could. Big up to TJ in the chat. Said Edison could be part of the rebuilding squad. Still better than Nagate. As yeah, people have said that as well. That he's definitely an improvement. For people watching, if you're on social media, if you could share the stream, please do so at this point during a live stream because that would be the best way of reaching a bigger audience. So if you can share on socials, that would be as we're kind of building the channel up and we're kind of stuck on this line at 800 subscribers. If you could share the stream during a live stream, that would be really appreciated. Wisdom Better says, your sense, so what are you picking up with your senses? You're saying Anderson, Stiller, Wharton, Scott, Hackley, Gomez. This is a big list, isn't it? Fernandez, Bleber are ahead in priority for United. Too many feels a bit like a dream, doesn't it? Yeah. Tonali seems like a bit of a risk. Edison is like one of those backup signings. It feels like. Do you think that this is going to happen quite quickly then? Are Man United being forced to kind of get involved quickly? Because I know a lot of people feel like Edison is going to be I don't know, like what's the best way of putting it? Like not the top one or two signings, not in like the three or four signings, but is it going to be someone that comes in as like, let's get someone in that at least can address some issues in the club? Um, so you're saying that after watching Kobe's game yesterday, it is evident must sign star players play number 6 position. And say too many in Tonali are the only 6 options. A lot of people have said the same sort of thing. It feels a bit like one or the other. And do you get the feeling that Man United would like to get too many, even though if it feels like you've got a 10% chance of getting too many, how long do you wait? At the moment, is there any other club that's actually looking at getting Tonali? Like, do we have time to wait? With if Man United go right, we want to get one of these players, and you're looking at those options, is it just going to be one of those factors where how long do you wait? Because it's quite difficult, isn't it? If United wait for a long time, then yeah, it's going to be tricky. It's like, 'cause if you wait, is there any other clubs that are going to be interested in Tonali? My feeling would be Newcastle are putting in a price that they want quite high. So I think Tonali will be stuck at Newcastle for a while. And I'm not sure if any other club's going to be prepared to pay 80 plus million. There might be there might be an emergence, but there seems to be so many other midfielders going that are linked to Madrid or linked to Liverpool, linked to Man City, and I don't see Tonali's name coming up, to be honest. And maybe that gives Man United a bit of thinking time. I really hope that Real Madrid kind of just decide what's happening with too many. Either sign a new contract or if he doesn't sign a new contract, we should make an offer and see because that might be the best way of resolving that situation. Is 25 the cutoff? Because 25 is quite young. I would say 25 is quite young, like for me. That if you're looking at some of the players that are going to be playing, I'm trying to think, like Man United must have bought Van Nistelrooy, and he was about 27, wasn't he? He felt a bit older. Van Persie, Dwight York, yeah, they're not the signings that you're going to build around for the future, but those players were about 30. I think Dwight York might have been 29, 30. Van Persie, the same sort of age, and you get a couple of good seasons out of those players. If you go back to, say, a 27-year-old, I don't see the problem. Like, I think he hasn't even turned 27 yet. So I know that there's this policy of going younger and younger, but look at Chelsea. If you keep signing nothing but younger players, you do need some experience and quality. Sometimes in a perfect world, there would be like a few 25-year-olds on the market. But if you're looking at a player that ticks the boxes that's 27 and is in good shape, doesn't have injury issues, it's not expensive either. We're not talking about 80 million pounds for Ederson, are we? We're talking about maybe 37, 38. So it's not loads. If he was a fourth midfield signing, I would be borderline amazed that Man United have signed 4 midfielders in one window. And if Edison was the fourth in terms of like what was, if we put them in order of quality, I would be genuinely amazed. So I think Ineos's age rule goes up to 29, 30. So I was guessing about, yeah, I was guessing a little bit regarding this one. Hey, welcome. And say Andy's saying things, what's messing about too much? Uh, try refreshing because internet connection from my end is like absolutely fine, Andy. But sometimes just close it and open it again and see if that works. But no, cheers, Andy. And Brill says Edison age makes sense if Edison age makes sense if Believer transfers on the cards to add experience. Or you could say like the Tonali transfer makes sense in terms of like an age and experience thing. And I think if you're looking at trying to get who are the other players that we're seriously considering, Anderson is like the dream signing, I think, but is unrealistic. And maybe Belieber feels like one of the signings, doesn't it? Most people feel like Belieber is going to be not a done deal, but as close to a deal as like some of the players we've been linked to. If that is a deal that's going to happen, then if Edison um, would make sense a little bit. I would say that the Belieber deal, like too many, makes a lot of sense as well. And Angela Stiller makes quite a lot of sense if you look at a player that what he's done. So there's a lot of deals that make sense. I think Edison, the thing that's going for him is probably the thing that we're looking at, thinking maybe we don't sign him because of that one. Okay, I thought Van Nistelrooy was a bit older, but I can't remember exactly how old he was. Welcome, Jules, to the chat. It says Carrick played with two sixes at Middlesbrough. Then do you think Carrick is going to have maybe a question for Jules as well? Do you think Michael Carrick is going to be having, well, I suppose, is Carrick going to stay? And if he does stay, then is he going to have some input in the team? Because I get the feeling that I remember you saying that one of the fullbacks will be quite attacking. Maybe they're looking at a left back to be more attacking. Maybe they're looking at a right back. And maybe Man United gradually going to move to a 4-3-3, and that'll be the situation. So you take Edison, impressed with what you've seen from it. Yeah, I know, Jules, you're like one of the people I know that when I speak to, you are the most impressed by Edison, and you rate him quite highly as well. And I think you're probably going to be happy with this deal then, the price it's going to be. It's not going to be too expensive. So remember we shortlisted Ollie Watkins, who was 30 by the time previous summer. We did. I don't know if I think we did consider Watkins. I think when you start looking at players that's Ollie Watkins' age, then Aston Villa's valuation made it a bad deal. It was just too expensive, wasn't it? If they wanted they want 60 million, that's too much money. If you're looking at Edison, he's cheaper, and yeah. So buying a midfielder early will be a statement that we aren't desperate, as the clubs won't price as high. So I don't know. I would say that if Man United tried to buy say too many, I don't think you get a better deal. Like, no, I don't think Man United can go to Madrid and say, look, we've already bought one midfielder. Like, too many will still be the same price. And if you're looking at the top signings, like Tonali will still be like teams have got different issues, haven't they? I think so. If United want to get Tonali, Newcastle want to sell Tonali for a big price because they want to then rebuild their squad. So I don't think I think it's going to be a genuine struggle to actually get a good deal. So that's why I'm thinking. I don't think United are going to get a cheaper deal by buying a player early. But we'll have to see. I mean, it does mean that at least we've got a player there as well. Hey, Marps, did you enjoy the call-in show yesterday? There was a lot of interesting opinions. Some quite positive, some very negative. The referee point yesterday that if you missed the stream yesterday, Jeff is a professional referee, so he had a lot to say on the officiating, quite a lot. He was pretty angry. Um, big up to you, Randy. So let's go for some positives. I have got a poll running in the chat as well. Do you think Man United will sign Edison? Like, will he be a Manchester United player? That we've seen things happen quite quickly in the past. We've seen things like come to a certain point and disappear. So say Edison, good engine, very good injury record, good passer. For me, I would probably say if you're looking at players of a certain age, and if you consider all the factors in mind, you go right. Does this player have like injury issues? No. Is his form dropping off? No. Is he playing fewer and fewer games because he can't manage the minutes? Then no. So there is a few red flags you can look for. And if you're looking for the only thing I can think of regarding Edison is he hasn't played in the Premier League. So how quickly would he adapt? Would he find it straightforward? Who knows? Like it could be that you drop him in the Premier League and he's absolutely fine. He's a good player. He's good in possession, good passing, good engine. He feels like he's got a lot of the skill sets you'd want as a Premier League midfielder. But again, it might take a little bit of time because the Premier League is pretty physical. And so I don't understand why we don't buy anyone over 26, but we keep giving new contracts to 31 or 33 year olds and say it's the money, not the age. I think it could be the when you got a player at the club already, it's probably just cheaper, isn't it? That you don't have to sign it. If Man United, I'm trying to think who we got at age like 33 that we're giving a contract to, but I think it's probably like seen as a short term issue, isn't it? Like Man United used to give contracts of like 1 year extensions to like Scholes and Giggs, and I don't mind a 1 year extension for a player that's like 30 if you feel like they're going to be a significant, like they're going to play a significant amount of games, for me that's not a problem. But just I'm not really a fan of 4-2-3-1. I think we need to move away from this. I get the feeling that we are going to move away from it, and whether it happens really quickly or slowly, I think we're going to move away from 4-2-3-1. We're looking at building a 4-3-3 squad. We're looking at getting getting a left winger, and I feel that's what we might be looking at doing. So maybe the way we're playing at the moment, Bruno Fernandes is obviously instrumental in the attack, but maybe in a year's time that's not the case. A couple more signings, midfield could function completely differently as well. And say if they think four players, I think when we're talking about this maps, I think people were talking about four midfield signings, like not just four players for the squad, about four midfield signings. So like Edison, an Agati replacement, a Casemiro replacement, a Toby Collier replacement, and then one extra one. So replacing three midfielders and then buying an extra midfielder because we need the depth. So I think people are looking at most people feel like they're going to need at least six signings. I mean, my guess would be if we got three midfield signings, left winger, maybe left back, and you get the goalkeeper cover for sure, like either Vitek or Vitek sold or loaned, and you buy another one. But I think that four players will not be enough. I think most people know that the depth's not there. Like Manchester United will be aware of this, I'm sure. If they're not, then and also I think like flight replacements, like Xerxes leaving, you replace him, and Mason Mount's probably not going to leave, but you would replace him. So no, you would be looking at trying to rebuild. If you think about it, the players that left last season didn't really get replaced. Say six won't be enough. Okay, I'm not trying to convince you, but six players that are bought, and then they're also looking at players that have been on the periphery that will get more games. So you look at Lacey getting more games. You look at Thwaites being promoted to the first team squad. They're not going to start every single game. They're not going to start. Maybe not. Maybe we won't even start many games, but they will maybe be used in rotation, particularly when there's like cup games coming up in the early stages of those, and potentially there'll be Champions League games where you won't be playing the highest quality opposition, and there can be rotation. So I think if you're looking at, for me, you'd want to get seven signings in if possible, but then price would be would be a factor. But you would be getting three midfielders, and then you'd be replacing Xerxes. You're probably replacing Anana and Bindia, and you look at that. So the players being loaned out will be moved on. We need to replace Rasmus as well, in my opinion. So you need to get another backup striker. So I think six would be a good starting point if you got some. If people like Lacey did actually play a bit more than we're expecting, and we did if Thwaites and Fletcher and some players from the academy do actually play a bit more, like I wouldn't be sat here saying he'll definitely will, but there seems to be some evidence that a few academy players are going to be bridging the gap next season and gradually over the season. Now, Aiden Heaven will play more games. We'll see that for sure. And we'll probably be seeing Dorgu play more games as well. So we will have a few younger players that get more games. And I think the academy will be one that just gets a couple of players get a few more matches. And you're saying that our fan base expectations are too high when it comes to transfers. I don't know. I don't know. I think it's good to be. Yeah, I think if you're looking at, I think what Manchester United fans are looking at is how does a squad look if it's in a title race and it's trying to win the Champions League? That's kind of the benchmark, isn't it? So you look at 1999, you look at 2008, and go right. Where does the squad need to be very very competitive with Manchester City, with Arsenal, and is that achievable in one window? I think it would be so difficult to bridge that gap in one window, but they've got to look to bridge that gap in 2 years, maybe. This window, look at doing some deals in January and then next summer as well, filling in the gap. So this summer needs to be a serious window on fixing midfield. Like midfield has to be so good that next year we don't even consider a midfield transfer. and then we can look at seriously working out what the weaknesses in our team are going to be. So maybe next year it is going to be Luke Shaw gone, maybe a right back gone, maybe Almajala gone. Maybe we're going to start going around and upgrading. But more likely than not, maybe these players we're talking about they become bench or rotation options, and yeah, we have got a top quality goalkeeper on loan. He's going to come back. If he doesn't want to be backup, then yeah, tricky, isn't it? Edison will add the experience to a young midfield. Mainu and Baliba can benefit from him, says Randy. I mean, I thought that has been benefiting a lot from Casemiro, like playing alongside him. It's a shame there's not more overlap, isn't there? I think the problem's going to be that United, when you've got a dysfunctional squad, you don't have that normal natural progression you'd have where you have players in their prime and younger players coming through, learning from those players, and then gradually moving on. So United have to buy the experience back in, and hopefully over time, any players that come in will be trying to force Cunha and Mbeumo out of the team. So it's going to be very difficult. So put it this way, Jules says if you stick Edison in versus Sunderland, we cope a lot better. So that's probably the thing, isn't it? If you put Edison in the midfield, then physically we're more up for the fight. Like he'll be putting in a much better shift than Mason Mount. And I think that's the issue that there's a few players signed that really we shouldn't have signed a couple of years ago. And yeah, no, this is what was happening. But for people voting, I'll probably close the vote in a second. So will Manchester United sign him? At the moment, 60% of people saying that it will. So if you want to vote, I'll give you another minute to vote on this one. And so Man United says this season our aim is to be competitive on Premier League and Champions League and win one of the domestic trophies. I think fans are looking at yeah, every fan's gonna have a different idea of what's a successful season next season. But the Champions League, you got to get through the group stage. I'm looking forward to the Champions League though. It's a completely different competition from when we were last in it. The last time we were in it, we were in the old-fashioned group stage now. So I'm looking forward to that one. And maybe this is going to be something that we do see as well. So wouldn't it be great if we read a story tomorrow that United have tested Madrid's resolve by putting in an offer for too many? That sends intent to everybody, and that's what you want to see from Ineos. And I guess what's happened with that one? Real Madrid haven't even decided who their manager's going to be, have they? So can you imagine if Manchester United did that and went right? We're interested in too many. Here's an offer. How much would be a testing offer for Madrid? Do you think like 80 million? Like would that be something that Madrid go? Yeah, we accept. And if Madrid accept that offer, would that would that be kind of the green light for too many to go? Actually, yeah, I'm going. Yeah, that would be definitely an interesting story, wouldn't it? If that happened, if that happens, then that would be massive breaking news, wouldn't it? So looking at the poll, I've just closed the poll to check what the score is on this one. Will United sign Edison? So interestingly, almost two-thirds of people are saying that are going to sign Edison, and you feel like this is a almost like a done deal. So 64% say yes, only 36% say no. So yeah, it looks like that is the case. It looks like that's the case. And before we go into the last sort of question part of the stream, if you've got any social media accounts, please share the stream or hype the stream if you can. It really helps reach other people as well. So it's the only way the channel is going to grow is by reaching new faces and new people watching YouTube media. So please, if you can share the stream on socials as we're live, that would be massively appreciated. So I'll go for if anyone's got some final questions with this one. So your pick is Tonali, but not a popular choice here. I don't know. I think Tonali's I think people have different views, and I think if Man United said, "Look, we signed Tonali," I think everybody would be happy. I think yeah, too many would be a good signing as well. I think it would be a very good signing. Too many might be the most exciting signing because we're getting a player that Real Madrid do not really want to sell, and that for me is a big positive. No idea what Mourinho would want, but it's difficult to predict. So you'd start at 70 million. I suppose if you start at 70 million, you got room to go, haven't you? You got room to go up a little bit. So maybe that would be. it would be interesting to see how the reaction from too many, because I think too many, I think Man United could agree terms with him. I think he would be, certainly fit into our wage structure near the top end, probably a bit above some of the players signed, but I think there's reasons why that would be absolutely fine. And we should find out about too many in the next 2 or 3 weeks, hopefully. Yeah, the transfer window opens in just over a month, so I think we've got on this one that, yeah, if we can find out about too many in the next 2 or 3 weeks, that would be really good, wouldn't it? So that would be good to find out. If you don't make an offer, you don't find out. And too many, he might be happy to stay at Madrid, but if United are serious, then they should go for it. Cheers, Tony. Thanks for getting involved. And we're going to try and keep streams a bit shorter for now. So if anyone has got any final points, you've got a couple of minutes. But I'll be back probably about 1 p.m. today, depending on news, depending on what's happening as well. Yeah, I'm happy. I'm happy with too many. I'm happy with this one. And I do like your signing prediction or the players you want. Lucky you got some good names on that list. I think United are going to be. Maybe we're going to see a few interesting games this afternoon, and maybe we're going to find out who's going to get relegated. Do I think it would be awkward with Mourinho and Vinicius Junior considering, say that I don't know actually. I don't know. To be honest, there's so many things happening at Real Madrid. I don't think they could bring in a head coach that wouldn't be awkward at this point in time. So I don't know. I think what for me would be apparent is there's a lot of big egos at the club. You've got like not just too many Valverde situation, but you've got Rudiger, you've got Mbappe, Vinicius Junior, Rodrigo apparently wanting to leave. You got so many different things happening at Real Madrid that they're such a bit of a mess. I know they're putting on a United, they're trying to put on a united front and pretend there's no issues, but there's a lot of issues behind the scenes, isn't there? Jim says we want to upgrade the players, but don't want to upgrade the coach. He'll be upgraded eventually. We're just treading water until then. It might be the case, Jim. Maybe the expectations at the moment were, what's the best Carrick can do? Got third. If Man United sign a team that people think should be in a title race and is not in a title race, maybe we see something happen then. Who knows? But I think until that, we're going to be. We'll have to see. Um, yeah, West Ham. Let's see how they get on as well. Let's see if West Ham can do something against Arsenal. That's probably going to be the game to watch. So I'll make sure there's no streams around that game, but I will be looking at possibly something. I don't know. In a few, it depends on what news happens as well, doesn't it? But if you're able to share the stream, like I said, on any socials, and don't forget to click the like as well, that really helps. And then, guys, I will put a link to the Discord if you want to join that. That's the community hub we've got. We're getting close to 80 people on there. So if you want to join the Discord, it's obviously, yeah, free Discord, and it's got, Man United fans in there. The idea there is that if you want to share information on like scouting players or just post messages, suggestions, etc., you can do so. So I'll just share the Discord there. And if you'd like to join it, then please get involved. And until then, guys, we will wrap up the stream. Thank you for watching. Thanks for supporting the channel. And we will see you guys later in the day.